All right, we will get going. Well, welcome everyone, and then thanks everyone for hopping on tonight. Can't believe it's almost the end of January already, but I hope everyone had a great holiday season and 2023 has treated you well, and it's off to a great start. My name is Brett Sebion. I'm part of the Emerj360 team here at TrustPoint. Emerj360 is a division of TrustPoint focusing on investment management and financial planning for relationships $50,000 and up, and also providing the education for the TrustPoint 401k plans that we administer. A few reminders before we get started tonight. Please follow us on social media. I'll send a reminder at the end of the presentation as well. And this presentation will also be recorded for anybody that would like to go back, and for folks who couldn't make it tonight. So a little bit further of an introduction. Heather Jordan, who is not on the call, she's the managing director of Emerj360. She's also the CFP, or certified financial planner, on the team, so works with a lot of our clients in that capacity. She spent her time before Emerj360 in the wealth management division at TrustPoint. I'm the financial coach on the team, do a lot of the education for our 401k plans, but also work with our individual clients and focus on kind of the investment side of the relationship. I came from the investment team at Trust Department at TrustPoint. Sorry. All right. So the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about new limits for 2023, contribution limits, income limits to contribute to certain retirement accounts. Those tend to change year over year. So always want to keep y'all up to date on that. And then we'll follow up with some new year tasks. It's always important to maybe have some goals or have some checklist items to follow up on year over year. So we'll cover that as well. But first, 2023 limits. So there are new limits for 401k contributions. They generally do go up year over year, but we saw a bigger jump from 2022 to 2023 than what we had been used to historically. So again, 401ks are really the most productive vehicles to max out retirement savings. There's no income limitations for getting tax deductions for traditional contributions. There's no income limits to contribute Roth, and you can do so in a greater capacity. So if you're under the age of 50, you can contribute $22,500 to your 401k this year. If you're over 50, there's a catch-up contribution of $7,500, so to $30,000. So this went up $2,000, which is quite the jump. A little joke around here is that they must be trying to get the stock market to go back up, right? And letting people contribute a little bit more than what they have in the past in relation to the jump of contribution. So again, maxing out is always a great thing. Realize not everybody can get there, but it's a good goal to work towards over time. And again, 401ks are really the most productive vehicles to max out your retirement savings. There's also new limits for IRA contributions in 2023. So under the age of 50, that went up $500. So in 2023, under the age of 50, you can contribute $6,500. And for age 50 and above, there's that $1,000 catch-up contribution to $7,500. So remember, you can contribute you can max out on the 401k and the IRA side. There's no rules around that. But remember, and however, there are income limits for receiving the tax deduction for traditional IRA contributions. Remember, that's a pre-tax contribution that you get to deduct from your taxable income. And secondly, there are income limits for flat out just contributing to a Roth IRA. And we'll cover those on the next slide. So again, in relation to the 401k, there's no income limits in regards to contributing in either capacity. So it is still the best vehicle to kind of max out your retirement savings and do so in whatever manner you'd like. So the new limits here are for the Roth IRA first. So for married folks filing in a joint capacity, if you make under $218,000, you can contribute to a Roth IRA. If you make over $228,000 as a household, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. And then there's a phase out period as you see there between the two numbers. If you are single, the phase out range starts at $138,000. So anything under that, you're able to contribute, and then phases out anything over $153,000, you are unable to contribute to a Roth IRA. So again, those generally go up over time as well. But Again, we'll record this video if you need to go back and look at that. Otherwise, if you just Google Roth IRA and traditional IRA income limits for contributing, you'll be able to get that information as well. So for traditional IRAs, if you are a single taxpayer participating in an employer plan, so you're participating in a qualified employer plan, you will not receive the tax deduction if you make more than $83,000. If you are married, filing jointly and participating in employers' plans, if you make more than $136,000 between the both of you, you are unable to get the tax deduction for a traditional IRA contribution. If you make less than 116, you are able to. And then married with a spouse and both participating in a plan, again, if you make over that $228,000, you won't be able to make that tax deductible contribution. If neither of you are making or are contributing in a qualified plan, 401k plan, this goes out the window. You're able to make those tax deductible contributions to your traditional IRA. But a couple different things going on here, right? So it's always important to check with your tax professional or check in with us before going through with this. There is, however, a solution if you are maxing out your Roth and your 401k and you're really passionate about wanting to save after tax dollars, Roth dollars in retirement. There's a solution called a backdoor Roth. So basically how it works is that you make a non-deductible contribution to your traditional IRA, right? Which is different because usually when we contribute to traditional IRA, we want that tax deduction. So you make a non-deductible contribution to your traditional IRA, and then you convert that non-deductible contribution from your traditional IRA to your Roth IRA. So this is called a backdoor Roth that we do with folks here, our individual clients at TrustPoint. There's been talks of this going away potentially, but nothing has came to fruition yet. So it's still kind of a strategy to utilize for those who really want to beef up the Roth contributions and getting those tax-free distributions in retirement. New limits for HSA, health savings account, and gifting. So HSA accounts are specifically to be used for folks who are participating in a high deductible health insurance plan. Okay, and they are very tax advantage vehicles to save for current and future healthcare related costs. So if you are under the age of 50, you can put in 3850 again between you and your employer if you're single with no family, and then if you're on a family high deductible plan, that gets bumped up to $7,750. Again, that's between you and your employer. If you're over the age of 50, you see those catch-up contributions that are embedded in there. Again, this can generally go up over time as well. But again, these are based on the contributions between the employee and the employer. Some employers will not make a contribution to your HSA. Some employers will. So it's good to check in with your HR team wherever you're employed. But those are the limits for 2023. Again, very tax advantage way to save for retirement. So it's a pre-tax contribution. If it's invested in any capacity, a gross tax free, and as long as you use it for a qualified medical expense, it's a tax-free distribution. So it's truly untaxed money. One of the greatest tax advantage vehicles out there, and specifically for healthcare costs. So again, we all know healthcare costs continue to increase. This is a great vehicle to utilize to help with those costs. And then the gift tax limit went up a little bit this year as well. So these are the limits that you can gift to individuals without having to file a gift return tax form. Okay, so 17,000 as a single person, 34,000 if you're married. And again, that is the gift tax limit for 2023. Moving on to a couple new year tasks. So again, it's always important to have some of those checklist items that maybe fall off your radar the second part of the year. But we'll cover kind of various ones. We'll first start out with some budgeting guidelines. So a nice little graph here. We actually show this a lot when we go do education for our 401k plans. but it's an easy guideline to remember. So it's called the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your budget should go towards your needs, right? What you actually need to live, housing, food, transportation. And then 30% of your budget towards your wants, so your extracurriculars, right? Think of clothing, traveling, and then 20% of your budget towards your savings. This is a little bit of an enhanced savings number. We generally tell people to save 10 to 15% of your income for retirement, towards retirement plans. That's between you and your employer. This 20% savings figure includes the emergency fund, which we'll cover next, and then any extra debt payments. So again, 50-30-20 rule, apply to your own situation, see where you fall into these guidelines, and then make any adjustments where it's needed. Beneficiaries and estate planning. So make sure your beneficiaries are up to date as they actually override a will. So again, think of 401k accounts, IRAs, taxable accounts, etc. It's very important to keep these up to date, especially within your 401ks. We've had some horror stories on folks not being taken off beneficiary forms, or a child not being added to a beneficiary form. So really, anytime you have some life change, right? Marriage, divorce, kids, check with your HR team or your investment advisor and get those beneficiary forms up to date. So in the last slide, or last bullet point there, do you have an estate plan? Is your estate plan up to date? So if you have a will that's been drafted by an attorney, or have a revocable trust, and you think it needs to be updated, put that on the checklist for this year. If you don't have any type of estate plan, we would encourage you to get some type of estate plan, right? At the lowest level of will, it's very important to have some type of estate plan within your financial plan. Emergency funds. So generally speaking, we encourage folks to have about 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash, so liquid in a checking or savings account for emergencies, for anything that comes up unexpected, right? Car breaks down, furnace goes out, maybe if you're still working, maybe you can't work for an extended period of time and you're not getting paid in full. It's really that sense of comfort for you to fall back on in case those unexpected items and things do come up. Possibly increase this as you get closer to retirement for distribution strategies. So a great example of this right now is for a lot of our individual clients in retirement, and especially who are RMD age, or required minimum distribution age, we have, we like to maybe have them have 6 to 12 months of cash, right? And you can implement strategies like, if markets are volatile like they are today, we can draw down some of those cash levels and allow the investments in their account to rebound, so that they're not taking a bunch of distributions when the account is being volatile because markets are selling off. So again, there's just a couple different flexible things you can do with having a little bit more of a cash on hand strategy. But again, those are for folks who are nearing retirement or in retirement, where those strategies become more available and more important to think about. Another checklist item, fund your IRA. You can fund your IRA until April 15th, 2023 to satisfy your 2022 IRA contributions. And a little note here, I think I said it when we were talking about traditional IRA or IRAs and 401ks. If you're maxing out your 401k, you can max out an IRA as well, right? And there's income limitations around that for folks who fall into that category. But those are not combined. So if you're the person who is able to max out your 401k, you can also max out an IRA or fund some other type of investment vehicle. And it's a great time to do that right now, as we've seen stocks sell off and markets are under pressure. It's a great long-term entry point for long-term investors and looking out 3 to 5+ years. Increase your retirement savings. So this is something we always encourage participants and clients to do if they're working, especially if they have a 401k plan, to increase your retirement contributions, even if it's just 1%, right? And the easiest time to do this psychologically is when you get a raise. So let's say you get a 2 to 3% raise, maybe put 2% contribution raise into your 401k, or increase into your 401k. Another easy time to do this is if you paid off any debt recently, or really anytime you feel like you have extra cash flow capacity. Really think about increasing your retirement contributions and making it as systematic as possible, right? So in investing, as in life, you want to control what you can and not control what you can't. We cannot control what the market does, day in and day out and over the weeks, but we can control how much we contribute to our retirement, right? So try to implement a strategy that takes the emotion out of it and take what you can control in your own hands, and that is your contribution rate. And we'll follow up with a nice little example here, increasing your retirement savings. So the baseline facts, we have two different individuals here, one who contributes one amount and it stays stagnant, and another individual who increases their contribution. But the baseline fact here is 40 years old, $50,000 salary, $50,000 in the 401k, and we're assuming a 7% annualized return until retirement. So example one here on the left-hand side, we have a 5% contribution rate until age 65, until they retire. So the account value at that time with the contributions and the 7% annualized return of about $490,000. Then we have example two, where that individual starts at 5%, but then increases 1% until they max out. And then they continue to max out until they retire. So they're increasing their contribution when they get a raise, they're taking the emotion out of it, they're trying to be as systematic as possible. And the account value at 65 for this individual is over 900,000. So not quite double, but close, by really just increasing that 1% each year over this 25-year period. So again, those small changes really do have large impacts over longer periods of time. And again, it's a great strategy to implement no matter how old you are, whether you're 30, 40, 50, a couple years from retirement. Any bit helps. We work with a lot of individuals in retirement. I can tell you the message is usually, man, I wish I would have saved less, right? It's usually, I wish I would have saved more. So try to implement this. If you haven't already in 2023, kind of make a note, another checklist item of doing this year in and year out, or whenever you get a raise or whenever you pay off some type of debt. All right, resources. So here's a picture of the team and then how Emerj360 can help. So again, just in review, we're a division of TrustPoint. So we're still located in the TrustPoint building in downtown La Crosse here, but we do investment management, financial planning for accounts, relationships, $50,000 and up. That's not per account, right? So it can be a $25,000 account for you, $25,000 account for your spouse or partner. Again, the big service of part of this is the ongoing financial planning, right? With Heather, who works with all of our individual clients in that capacity. You have a dedicated team and also enhanced technology, right? So it's a hybrid model, best of kind of both worlds. We have really user client-friendly technology, being able to access your account online at any time, see performance and all of that. And then also have the dedicated team of people who are actually here to help answer your questions. People who are monitoring your investments, who is the TrustPoint investment team that is doing all that. But here's a couple QR codes to check out the website or even schedule a meeting with us. And I think the last slide here has all of our information, phone numbers, email, and our website with it as well. So I would like to thank everybody who popped on here to listen to the presentation. Please reach out with any questions about the material that we covered tonight. If you have any questions about the limits or any of the New Year tasks that we covered. And also feel free to reach out if you have any interest in some of our additional services that Emerj360 provides. Hope everyone has a great and safe and prosperous 2023. Thank you.